Hello, good morning and welcome to Evening Morning Guitars. It is the morning. Today we have Han Solo's shoes. I went to see The Force Awakens for the third time last night, and it's just as sweet as on the third viewing. It is really awesome. To be honest, I don't even know if maybe A New Hope is better, but it's just such a good film. Anyway, so today, aside from that Star Wars geekery, so today we're going to be looking at a kind of really old trick, which is using a violin bow on a guitar. A caveat: when I first started doing this, I used a cello bow, and I can't remember the exact reasoning behind that. I think it's because of the tension works better, and it's also longer. Because the guitar strings are sort of metal and they're harder to actually get moving. But a violin bow is a little bit easier to deal with. I think this might even be a 3/4 size violin bow. So that makes it even easier to get across the strings. And I'm using a Jazzmaster because it's got quite it was got like a 7.25 radius, I think, on this, which means that it is quite arched, which obviously helps you with the bow. The other thing about the bow is obviously there's rosin, like the resin on the bow, that you don't want to get on the body, and so again it helps if you've got purchase enough to move the bow across the strings like that. But first, this is a crafted in Japan CIJ from the 90s, and a lot of people have a problem with Japanese Jazzmasters, and that's that the trem arm keeps falling off. The best non-destructive way I found of dealing with that is to get some PTFE plumber's tape. It's about £1, £2, it's like $4 or something, off of Amazon. It looks like that. And then you get your trem arm, you wrap it around. So this is like sealant tape for plumbing and the like, and it sort of binds to what you seal it to. This won't fix it forever, but it will do it for the time being. You kind of jam it in there and it will bunch up a little bit, but it will eventually go in the hole, and what will happen is it will transfer off of the arm into the actual the grommet underneath there, and it will stick the arm in a little bit better. So you should be able to actually take the arm out, put it back in, and you'll see there's a thin coating of white on the inside of that. Now eventually that just breaks down completely and you need to replace it, but it lasts quite a while, and so far I've found it to be quite a good way of dealing with that. So onto violin bow. First thing you need is a violin bow or a cello bow. Second thing you need is some resin, which again most old school kind of music shops will sell you. So then before you start playing, you want to draw the bow over the resin if you haven't already. I mean, if you might be able to see just about on the video, probably not, but a cloud of resin just came up when I hit the bow against my arm there. It's because there's already resin on it. And then tying it up pretty much as far as it will go. So that riff I was playing at the beginning is from an old song that I used to do more kind of shoegazy type stuff. I've got 2 stacked delays on the floor. I've got no, it's not Digitech, the Behringer DD400 and the Donner Yellow Full, and we're going to hear what that riff sounds like if we play it with the violin bow. So, right, here goes. So that's a really common way of getting purchase on the strings. So the hard thing is to get purchase on the strings, and you see that the resin is actually rubbing off on here, and that's kind of how it grips the strings and makes them vibrate. it's quite hard to draw the bow up and down without a phenomenal amount of resin on it. And it is, if I'm honest, if I remember it correctly, it is actually easier to do that with the cello bow. But, you know, let's try. I might not be able to do this sitting down, so let's move the guitar so I've got some purchase, and let's see if we can play the same riff using some bowed strokes. So the other thing you'll notice about that is that it's also hitting, so the note in the middle, the B, which in most of those chords is the most sort of jarring note. It's the one that comes out the loudest. And it's also very hard not to hit these strings. I mean, luckily, they are, I think, mostly in the first chord, if not the second chord, if you're going to make it like a full barre type chord. So it doesn't matter too much in this case, but you also have to be aware of that. It's not a precise thing. If you think about how this has been used, so you used to hear a lot of this on old records, like, you know, sort of psychedelic records of a particular era. It was, you know, Jeff Beck and Jimmy Page, who were doing, I mean, amongst many others, to be fair, who were doing this sort of thing. And actually, probably the most famous recorded incident of using a violin bow is on Dazed and Confused by Led Zeppelin, which is a much more kind of imprecise sound. So you're probably wondering, what does this sound like on the bass strings? And actually, it's a little bit easier because you can see that this switch basically is the thing that moves to tighten it, at least according to my understanding. Is further back, and it's very, very easy to get a good sound from this bit at the back here. So we're going to try doing a riff on the bass strings, a short riff, and might even try it with a bit of distortion. So here goes. So anyway, that was not in the correct tuning, but that was roughly the ending part of the song The Charm Offensive by Oceanside, which is one of my favourite big rock distorted drop tuned riffs. And you can hear it, like, it doesn't actually sound all that bad. It doesn't sound great. I mean, you've got to be playing in a certain type of music to get away with that sort of thing. But it is a neat effect, and it is usable. You know, it's something that I have on a lot of recordings and things, especially kind of doing it rapidly, like in that first style we did, where it's like that. It is reusable, and actually, you know, surprisingly, the only disappointment, I suppose, is it doesn't sound too different to just tremolo picking. So as long as you're okay with that, if you want to do the, you know, like I just did there, where it's much more obvious that you're using a bow, without a lot of practice it's going to sound quite dodgy. So it's more of the thing suited to ambient, instrumental post-rock, that sort of thing, unless of course you're sort of in a breakdown section or a section where you can kind of get away with doing whatever you want. Maybe you're playing a solo, maybe everything's kind of brought down a little bit. But yeah, anyway. Oh, also Sigur Rós, of course. Jonty from Sigur Rós, he uses a violin bow. Or is it cello bow? I think it's a cello bow. So yeah, again, there's another good example of a band, in fact, in that genre, that use this effect. So anyway, that's all from me. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you liked it, subscribe for more. We're going to be doing more pedal reviews and stuff in future. And it's getting on, so I better get to work. Thanks for watching.